Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel, and it's that time. We're going to look at every single deck that got day 2 at the Utrecht special event. Now, yes, this was a special event, not a regionals, but there was over 800 players in the tournament, and day 2 had 100 players. It might as well have been a mini regionals, and of course, this tournament is going to be pretty significant as it was the last major EU tournament before rotation. And rotation is, of course, just around the corner, and Vancouver is just around the corner. This tournament is going to have a significant impact on Vancouver's meta due to the fact that, of course, a lot of people look at these results and use it for Vancouver. And there were some very interesting results indeed, especially with the deck that ended up winning the tournament, defying all odds in the finals. Pretty crazy stuff. History was made this weekend. Like I said, there's 100 players in this tournament. I've already seen some interesting stuff in day 2 that I'm excited to look at. There were some interesting cards that did get day 2 that I'm pretty excited about. But if you're new here to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and all that good stuff. Let me know what you think of the results of this tournament down below. I'll leave a link to Limitless too if you want to go check out the tournament for yourself to look at all of the decks. So starting these off, we have Owen Cameraman going back-to-back wins with the Mew deck this time instead of the Shempow deck. Now, Owen did just win back-to-back tournaments. Now, he did win a special event and a regional, not a regional and a regional, but still very impressive regardless. I mean, it's the same thing, basically, especially because this special event was so massive. But he did win with the Mew Vmax deck, and the best part about it is he ended up taking down a Roaring Moon in the finals. That's, like, arguably Mew's worst matchup by a landslide. I mean, Charizard's kind of sketchy, but Charizard is beatable. Like, Mew has figured out how to beat Charizard. But Roaring Moon, on the other hand, is a matchup that if Roaring Moon literally can get like 2 Roaring Moons fully powered up in one turn, you just kind of lose. But Mew did end up beating it in the finals, which is really cool. And I think a big part in how Mew won the tournament was the fact that it was the fusion build instead of the straight DTE build with a couple of fusion energy for Spiritomb. And I think that was one of the big reasons why we saw Owen win, is because having access to Meloetta and Ice Cube is really good against Roaring Moon, especially because you can give them the one prize option. The Meloetta is really, really good at beating Roaring Moon because you can knock out Roaring Moon as a one prizer. You can skew the prize trade. Basically, Mew wants to try to make Roaring Moon take 3 knockouts instead of 2 knockouts super easily. Like, if you just kind of blindfold, just go Mew Mew, you just kind of lose to Roaring Moon because they'll kill 2 Vmaxes before you take 6 prizes. But when you can mix it up with Meloettas and stuff, you have additional disruption with Path. And I think one of the big things in how to beat the Roaring Moon matchup is sometimes you can force your opponent down to 1 prize card so you can Iono Path them to 1. But yeah, impressive stuff. Mew is just basically like the EU's superstar. I mean, Mew, there's a reason why Mew wins so much in the EU. It's because the EU loves it. Now, will Mew VMAX be popular in Vancouver? Probably. I think it's going to be fairly popular. Maybe not the most played deck, obviously. Maybe not even in like the top 3 or top 4. Maybe I could see it being 5th or 6th. But I do think we're going to see a little bit more Mew in Vancouver. A lot of people want to play it one last time before it rotates. And it did just win a tournament. And it even beat Roaring Moon in the finals, which I think a lot of people are going to take that into account for Vancouver. So I definitely would expect to see a little bit more Mew in Vancouver. But of course, Roaring Moon is on a tear right now. It did get 2nd place here in the tournament, almost taking down Mew Vmax. But yeah, Roaring Moon is just a very strong deck. I think it is still going to be very popular in Vancouver. Just because it's Roaring Moon. I think that it got 2nd place. A lot of people are now going to be a little bit more convinced on the deck. We do see this build playing 4 Pokemon catchers and 1 boss, so really leaning in to the heavy catchers instead of relying solely on finding boss, but there is still 1 boss, because boss obviously is just good to have a lot of the time. But yeah, Roaring Moon, very strong deck. Probably going to be very popular in Vancouver. I mean, it almost won the tournament. That alone is going to convince people. It's also a very easy, straightforward deck to play. Arguably the most easiest and straightforward deck in the meta right now, besides maybe Miraidon and arguably Charizard. But yeah, Roaring Moon definitely is a very powerful deck. And yeah, I mean, I think these results show that the deck can win tournaments as long as Gardevoir isn't around. We do see Charizard in top 4, but not a Charizard deck you would expect, of course. We're talking about the Zard deck. Now, Tord built this wild Charizard VMAX, Urshifu VMAX, Pidgeot, Medicham, Inteleon quick shooting deck. I don't even know what you would call it, like the Tord pile. I did do a video on this deck over on my main channel today, so if you want to see some gameplay with the deck in action, definitely go check out the main channel after this video and go watch that video. But this deck is very funny. Is it a meme or is it actually a legit deck? Could Tord have just played this just because he could, or did he play it because it's actually good? That's the main question. I do think this deck has some legitimacy to it. There is a lot going on, but a lot of the things in the deck do flow well together, like the Bibarel, the Pidgeot, Skullvet, like a lot of random stuff in here, but honestly, the deck does kind of blend well together. Obviously, the Urshifu is kind of the big thing that a lot of people are going to be scratching their heads at, because why would you play Urshifu with Charizard when you just play Delphox V instead? It's basically the same thing. Well, Urshifu does have a lot more value over Delphox. It's a fighting Pokemon. It's a lot more tankier. Yeah, it's a good card in a lot of different situations over Delphox V, but it's cool to see Tord almost, I mean, dude, it would have been crazy if he won the tournament. I think he did lose to Owen in top 4, which is kind of crazy considering I would imagine this deck would maybe have a better time against Mew, mainly because you have Bibarel. Like, I think the fact that you have Bibarel is, like, gives you a really good time against Mew, but Owen was able to beat Tord in top 4, so that's pretty crazy to think about. But yeah, definitely very interesting to see Charizard do this well with the Tord pile. I mean, it is Tord. He is the greatest player, greatest deck builder in the game, so it's no surprise that he, like, brought this, like, crazy Charizard deck. Will this deck actually be played in Vancouver, though? I mean, there's probably going to be at least a couple people who bring it to Vancouver. The question is, can it convert to a day 2, and can we see another deep run from someone if somebody decides to play this to Vancouver? That's the main question. There was a Shempao in top 4. Shempao was not played by Owen Kammerman this time, but Shempao still ended up getting top 4 regardless, because it's still Shempao at the end of the day. It's still a strong deck, gets the job done. If the deck sets up, doesn't brick, the deck is pretty unstoppable, and we do see it here. Pretty straightforward list. It does have the new Palkia and Frigigigas in the deck with Collect, has the Iron Hands, all that stuff. Another Charizard here in top 8. This time it's a normal Charizard list, not the Tord pile. We do see it's Bibzard, though, which is very interesting. So Bibarelzard getting top 8. Now, Bibzard is definitely a very strong archetype in the rotation, but right now it does seem a little flimsy and a little weak, but still did end up getting top 8. So clearly the deck has stuff going for it. It does have a really good Mew matchup, I'll say that. I mean, you have Bibarel, which is, like, really hard for Mew to deal with, and of course, just having Bibarel means you're a little bit more safe against Path. You're not relying as heavily on the Pidgeot. You can actually lean into, you know, a controlling game state, pardon me, where you are able to, like, kind of keep a 1-2 prizer and play at all times. So it's kind of a cool engine. But yeah, Bibs are definitely an interesting archetype to get top 8. We'll have to see if this deck does well in Vancouver. There was, of course, the Pidgeot Snorlax control deck, the other way to play Snorlax. And this is not the straight Snorlax deck. Obviously, there's a lot more going on. There's Rotoms, there's Luxrays, there's Shiyus, there's Mimikyu, Spiritomb, Charizard, Pidgeot. A lot more going on in the deck. I mean, arguably, it's more of a Luxray deck. I think that's what a lot of the Pidgeot Snorlax players would call it, is it's more of a Luxray control deck. But you do still have the Snorlax, which is one of your main win conditions. You got the Radiant Charizard. Radiant Charizard is really good at dealing with threats, specifically against Giratina Vstar, where you can go Defiance Band Charizard against Giratina. If they, you know, go Shred with Giratina V, you can knock them out with the normal Charizard attack. But if they go V-Star, for whatever reason, you can Defiance Band KO their Giratina, and they run out of resources pretty quickly, so it's sometimes hard for them to kind of keep up against the Charizard. That's the idea behind playing the Radiant Charizard, is it helps your Giratina matchup a lot. Because Giratina is obviously Snorlax's worst matchup, but the Charizard does help it quite a bit. And there was another Charizard in top 8. This time it was Pidgeysard. 3 different Charizard builds in top 8. Actually kind of funny. There's Bibzard in top 8, then there's Pidgeysard in top 8, and then there was Tord with Pidgeot Charizard with Urshifu. So that's like the ultimate boss. But yeah, we do see the Pidgeysard here in top 8, playing the Paldean Fates Charmeleon. I guess one thing to note here, there is no switch in this build. Actually playing a Roxanne and no research either. Very interesting to see. Yeah, there is no switch. There's a Jet Energy instead of switch, though, which is very interesting. Next up, we do, of course, have in top 8 a Giratina. Giratina is still one of the best decks in the meta right now. Just one in top 8 is interesting to see, obviously, but sometimes Tina can, you know, fall short. It is, you know, tends to be a bricky deck sometimes. But yeah, still got top 8 regardless. We got a couple Guardies outside the top 8. We have 3 in a row. We do have James Cox here with the Gardevoir deck, playing the Turo, respecting them all while, which, funny enough, Tor did play. And we do see the 4 Iono double Avery going back into the deck over any research is a very interesting change to make. There's another Guardy here in 10th place. This one also playing the double Avery within the deck. And, of course, having the Turo in the deck. This one not playing Cresselia, though. And then finally, we have another Guardy deck here with the double Avery. So it looks like double Avery went straight back into Gardevoir. And I think that makes sense. I mean, after we did see Shempao win the last tournament, I mean, it makes sense why, you know, double Avery would go back in the deck. It's good against Mirror, good against Shempao. I mean, it comes up in a lot of scenarios. So yeah, the double Avery going back in Guardy makes sense to see. And yeah, there you go. We do have a Lost Box deck here using the Kyogre in top 16, the Roaring Moon Hands Kyogre Lost Box deck. Interesting inclusion. There is a single copy of Irida in the deck. That's not something you usually see within Lost Box decks, but the Irida can be nice. It gets you Kyogre, it gets you Greninja. Get you like Recycler at the right moment. Kind of an end game card more than an early game card, but it can be good in the early game because I guess it does fetch you VIP. Yeah, Kyogre is really good. I mean, it's really good against Roaring Moon. It can be good against Miraidon. It can be good against a lot of different decks. It just kind of wins games because it's Kyogre. It's really good against Mew. That's the other big one is that Kyogre just destroys Mew. Like against Mew, you just go Roaring Moon, and then you just wait to Kyogre, and then you win the game. Pretty straightforward stuff there. So Kyogre, Lost Box doing good. Then we got another Tina here in top 16. This Tina list is playing to that one of Avery. And, of course, we got another Lost Box deck. This time it's a little bit more interesting. It's a Dragonite deck, but it does have Moon. It's got hands, but it's also playing a Galarian Moltres V. And I kind of like the idea of a Galarian Moltres V in the deck. I mean, Glass's Lost Box is another strong deck that plays Galarian Moltres. And I think Moltres is a very powerful card. Being able to, have a second Dark Attacker can be very valuable against a lot of different matchups. And Moltres is a pretty efficient attacker. It can self-build itself up. In a lot of scenarios, if you have, access to, energy in hand, but you can go Dark Energy, Dire Flame Wings, and then you can Mirage Gate, you can build up Moltres in a turn, or you can double Dire Flame Wings over the course of 2 turns, get energy on it super easily that way. It's a pretty interesting card to play, and I really do like it. It does obviously help against Mew, because now you have 2 big Dark Attackers, instead of relying solely on Kyogre to win you the game in that matchup. Really cool stuff. I like this build, and I like the idea of Galarian Moltres V. There's no Sableye in this deck. That's the big takeaway. This build doesn't play Sableye in it. So, well, there's a Miraidon top 16. Miraidon is in a decent spot right now. Gardevoir is obviously what you're trying to play against when you're playing Miraidon. Miraidon's biggest hurdle is going to be obviously Charizard. Charizard is a tricky matchup. Not unwinnable, but it is tricky nonetheless. And of course, Miraidon just has that great Gardevoir matchup thanks to the fact that you play the Iron Hands EX. This one does rely a bit more heavily on the Researchers and the Ionos, but does have 1 copy of Peony, because Peony is a very strong card in Miraidon because it gets you 2 generators. Now, the other big thing in the deck, there's a Cobalion instead of a Pokemon Go Zapdos in the deck. I do like this. Now, Cobalion is something that I've seen in Miraidon before, but Zapdos has a little bit more value sometimes. Sometimes you need that extra bit of damage from the Zapdos, but Cobalion does help a lot against Charizard. You need 1 less energy. It's good against Roaring Moon too. It's not a bad idea to play the Cobalion within the deck, so we'll have to see if Miraidon continues to play Cobalion. It was in the highest placing Miraidon list. And there was another Pidgeot Snorlax deck here in top 16. This one does have a Drapion in the deck to help a little bit more against Mew, which is kind of funny to see. No Spiritomb in the deck, just playing the Drapion. Still has the Charizard and stuff, the Defiance Band, the Shiyu and stuff. Outside the top 16, there was another Charizard here. We got the Pidgeot once again. Pretty straightforward list. Playing the Roxanne in the deck is very interesting. 4 Iono. A lot more draw in the deck. Actually kind of cutting down on the Arvins, playing 2 Arvins instead of 4, which is interesting. The Roxanne's interesting. I don't know. Is it better than Iono? Maybe. There's another Lost Tina. This one does play a Tropius in the deck, so Tropius not a bad idea. I mean, it does help a lot against Charizard, obviously. It doesn't one-shot the Charizard. There's obviously no super effective glasses in here, but the Tropius can still be a great way to 2-shot Charizard, especially after some cram damage or something, which kind of makes sense, in my opinion. Another Charizard here, playing the Pidgeot and the Rope instead of the Switch in the deck, and also playing 2 Arvin instead of 4. Interesting stuff to see for sure. And then we got another Roaring Moon here in top 32. This one's got the 3 catchers. Yeah, pretty straightforward Moonless. Got the Ionos Research. No Judge, but still just kind of Roaring Moon. We got another Guardy here. Once again, playing Double Avery. So yeah, Double Avery was the hot inclusion this weekend in Gardevoir. We have Robin Schultz here with the very cool Lost Box pile deck. Now this is, it's a Sablezard Moon deck, but it does have a lot of cards you don't usually see within the Sablezard Moon deck. For starters, it plays Cross Switcher. That's something that these decks don't usually play because Cross Switcher doesn't, it used to see playing Sablezard way back when the deck first came out, but it stopped seeing play ever since. And also, Cross Switcher doesn't really see play in the Lost Zone decks anymore anyways. But it does in this deck, and there is 4 Pokestop alongside the 4 Cross Switcher, and there's the 1 copy of Snorlax, which is a very interesting inclusion in the deck. Snorlax is another card that has really fallen off within Lost Zone archetypes. It used to be very popular, but it has fallen off, but we do see Robin deciding to play it here, and I do like this deck a lot. Playing the heavy Gust with the Cross Switchers makes sense. There's no Counter Catcher, and there's no Boss. There's no Mawile. Just really relying on the turbo aspect of the Cross Switcher Pokestop engine to help you out. And I like this list a lot. It's really cool. Double Palpad is also very interesting, so you don't kind of deck out. Also has the 1 Clara in the deck over 2. No Raihan. Just 4 colors, 1 Clara in the deck as Sporters. Very cool stuff. Interesting innovations by Robin. There was another Roaring Moon here to look at. We got another Roaring Moon playing Canceling Kelowna and Water Energy Cross Switcher. So trying to lean more into the Greninja And then, of course, was a Palkia deck here. Now, this is really cool. Palkia deck in top 32. You love to see it. Palkia Vstar is a really fun deck. It's still kind of kicking around. Obviously, it did have a good result in San Antonio, but it's never really going to be like a popular deck. I mean, you might hit it maybe at one game in the tournament. For the most part, it's not going to be popular enough to really respect. But Palkia still is a good enough deck to have these good results. This one does have the Vulpix Vstar in the deck here. Really good at beating Gardevoir. Can be good against Charizard, too. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward Palkia deck. Having the one Bibarel is nice to have as a draw engine over the Mew Vmax. Yeah, it's Palkia, and Palkia is still a very powerful deck. Is this better than maybe playing Goldengo, though? We'll have to see. We haven't seen a Goldengo deck yet. We'll see if there's even any in day 2. Another Tina with the Avery here in top 32. We got another Guardy. Not playing Avery in this one, opting for the Research Iono package to kind of help a little bit more against the draw, withdraw, sorry. And then you have 3 Reversal Energy in the deck, so pretty heavy counter Reversal. But Reversal is a very good card. I mean, it wins the games. I swear, okay, I was going to say there's no something in the deck, but for whatever reason, I just, like, I don't know, I think... Okay, I don't know what I was saying there. I thought there was something missing in the deck for a sec. Like, it just looked off, and then I was like, I think there's... I saw Cresselia Screamtail, and I'm like, wait, they're in the deck. So I don't know. And I saw Zacian. I'm like, oh, never mind. Maybe I'm tripping. I think I was tripping. We got another Tina here with Roxanne in the deck. Of course, powerful card. Another Roaring Moon, playing the Water Energy and the Judge, so leading a little bit more of a hybrid-y build. Not playing the Canceling Clone, obviously, but still has the Judge, still has Water Energy in the deck for the Greninja, because Greninja can still be a very good attacker sometimes. You can pull it off. There was another Guardy here in top 32. Once again, not playing any Avery, but playing at 4 Iono, 1 Research, 1 Worker. A little bit less draw, I guess, overall. But there's no Turo either, but still does have a lot of the consistency of the Battle VIP, the level balls, stuff like that. Another Pidgeot Charizard deck here. There's a lot of these that did well. It's the best performing Snorlax deck here. I think I just said Pidgeot Charizard. I meant Pidgeot Snorlax. Yeah, Pidgeot Snorlax. I mean, it is kind of a Pidgeot Charizard deck. It does have Radiantsar in the deck. Yeah, Pidgeot Snorlax, very strong deck. This one is a lot harder to play, though, obviously, than the normal Snorlax control. I don't think it'll ever be the most popular way to play Snorlax, like, overall, just because it is a little harder to play. There's a lot more going on in the deck, and there's a lot more big decisions you have to make over the course of the game. Another Shampoo in top 32 here, pretty straightforward list. Another Mew in top 32. Like I said, Europe loves their Mew. This build's a little bit different than Owen's build. It does play the Deoxys in the deck, which can help a little bit against stuff like Roaring Moon. Again, being a 1-prizer is good. You can donk with Deoxys, too, if you really have to, with Fusion Energy and Double Turbo. It's a 1-prizer. It's got the 2-path in the deck over the 1-path that Owen played. But also playing a Trekking Shoes in the deck is a very interesting inclusion, too, to see within in this Mew deck. The Trekking Shoes, very cool. But yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, Mew is pretty good. We'll have to see if there's any other Mew in day 2 that played interesting cards. I know a Selgor is something we've been maybe looking at, seen for a while in Mew, just because the Selgor can help against Moon. Speaking of Moon, we got another Moon. This one does have a Galarian Moltres in the deck, the baby one. I'm a big fan of that Moltres. It's cool to see the Roaring Moon deck play it. Actually only playing 2 Roaring Moon within the deck. It does have a Super Rod, though, to kind of offset that a little bit, I guess. Also plays a Roxanne, a little bit more hand disruption, 2 Judge, 1 Roxanne, 1 Iono. Also only 1 copy of Sada. Very cool list. It did decent enough in the tournaments. That's cool to see. Another Guardy here, of course, doing good with no Avery. Another Moon deck here to look at. Playing the 2 Judge. No Iono, just 2 Judge. No Water Energy either. Ooh, yo, Reggie's made day 2? Yo, let's go. I'm a big fan of Reggie's. I love to see it. This could be Reggie's last day 2. Because the deck, I don't think it dies off, but it does get a little worse with rotation. Because we do lose the good Regilecky with Terra Spark, and we lose the Evolving Skies Regidrago. I actually think if this Regilecky from Evolving Skies stayed in the deck, I could see Reggie's being good in the rotation, because it has I think it would be really good against Lugia, which is going to have a huge uptick in play with rotation. Regilecky is really good against Lugia, and unfortunately Lugia being popular when this Regilecky leaves is a huge bummer to see. But it is cool to still see Reggie's get day 2. We'll have to see if Reggie's can ever succeed in the new format. We just lose a good Regilecky, so you have to lean a little bit more into like the Regirock and the Regidrago. I don't know, man. I'm going to try to cook it up for rotation eventually, probably for a YouTube video, but it's sad to see that this deck will probably get a little bit worse. Maybe we'll get like a new Regilecky very soon, though. There's a chance. Never say never. It's cool that got day 2. It actually did pretty good, too. Top 64 is awesome. 36th place. All right, we got another Zard deck. It is Bibzard once again, not the Pidgeot deck, playing the Bibzard too. We got another Guardy here with no Avery. Does have the Moonlit Hill, but once again playing 4 Iono and 2 Research for the draw. We got another Charizard. Looks like it, yeah, just another Pidgeot deck here, playing an Escape Rope in the deck. Another Sablezard here. Now, this one does have the Moltres in the deck, and I've seen this before. The Zard, Moon, Moltres. Makes sense. Galarian Moltres is like a mini version of Charizard. It's kind of the same thing. It's like that big late-game attacker that does a lot of damage. It does self-power itself up, so it's not like super hard to build up because it's its own ability. It has good synergy with Clara, and it's another dark Pokemon that you get in the deck, and it's a one-prize dark attacker. I think that's one of the selling points of playing the Moltres, is it's really good against Gardevoir because you're attacking with a one-prizer, not a two-prizer. Because you play Roaring Moon or Galarian Moltres V against Gardevoir, knock out the EX, you're still using a two-prizer. Galarian Moltres is a one-prizer, which can help a lot. You can build it up pretty early on with Mirage Gates, too. Its ability is really good. Yeah, cool stuff. I'm a big fan of this Moltres. I've seen a couple Moltres in Day 2s kind of make me happy. I'm a big fan of Galarian Moltres. And we got another Tina here playing an Avery. Another Zard. Another Pidgeot playing a Scaperobe. I guess the Scaperobe was kind of the talk of the town. That one also had an Avery in it, I just saw. Another Pidgeot Snorlax deck. Look at that. Pidgeot Snorlax. Very popular way to play. We haven't seen a more straightforward build of Snorlax. It's just all been the Pidgeot, Shiyu, Luxray Snorlax deck. We got another Moon here. Playing the Judge and the Iono split. No Water Energy. Another Sablezard deck. Look at that. And this one not playing in the Galarian Moltres this time, Sag. But it is still just, Sablezard just being Sablezard things. Has a TM Devo and a Pokestop in the deck. So two different cards you don't usually see in the Moon build of Sablezard. Makes sense. And then we got another Lost Box deck playing Kyogre, playing 2 Moon. Interesting. And playing the Iron Hands, but still Kyogre deck at the end of the day. It's got the Raihan, Roxanne, a little bit more supporters, playing Palpad 2 to help out a little bit. Only 1 Pokestop is very interesting. Only having 1 Pokestop is very interesting, but still gets the job done, Kyogre still being very good, obviously, like I said. Another Mew doing good. This time we just got the normal build of Mew, the 4 double turbos and 2 fusion energy, the more common way we see Mew. And we got another Tina, no Avery, playing the Tomb. A couple more Guardies to look at. This one playing a 1 Avery and 1 Turo. Then the next Guardy deck here, playing no Avery, so another Avery-less Gardevoir in Day 2. We got another Pidgeot Snorlax deck. Look at that. The truth is here. The Pidgeot Snorlax deck is here. Another Sablezard, playing Snorlax, so not the same as Robin Schultz's list. It does have Pokestop, but not the same because it's not playing Cross Switchers and stuff. But still having that Snorlax in deck. I guess the Snorlax really good against Lost Zone Mirror. Obviously can be really good against Tina too, which is another really good trait for it. So cool stuff, cool stuff. I love to see it. Another Moon, not playing any Waters. No Judge either, just the 1 Iono, 4 catchers. Another Miraidon made Day 2. This one, once again, just kind of a hybrid build. Playing the Researches, has Iono. Does have 1 copy of Peony, though. Not playing Cobalion, does opt here instead of obviously having the Zapdos in the deck to help a little bit more. Playing 13 Lightning. Pretty straightforward build. Yeah, Miraidon just still being a good deck. And finally, we got a Goldengo. Actually, we see it's Yell once again, who did get second place here at the Dortmund Regionals, running it back with Goldengo, Palkia, playing the 3 worker, 2 Avery split. Like I said, just kind of the same straightforward stuff we see with Goldengo. Cool stuff. Yeah, like I said, we'll expect to see Goldengo get a lot better with rotation, obviously, but still cool to see a Goldengo in Day 2 because, it's a fun deck to play, really cool stuff. Speaking of stuff in Day 2, we got a Cloth in Day 2. It's just one of those decks that it's never going to be the best deck in the room, never going to be the most popular deck in the room, but sometimes we're just going to randomly see a Cloth deck sneak its way into Day 2 of a Regionals because Cloth can just hit all the good matchups, run hot. Another Mew here in Day 2. Once again, the more common build with the 4 DT, 2 fusion. There was an Urshifu Iron Valiant deck here in Day 2. This is kind of, once again, a bit of a sleeper deck of the meta. It's never going to be the best deck, not the most popular way to play Iron Valiant over Entei, but still kind of a sleeper deck. Urshifu is a very strong card. We did see it, get, top 4 in the tournament. Or obviously, Urshifu is really good, right? Tord proved that. And then we got the Urshifu Iron Valiant here in Day 2. Playing a little less draw cards, playing 4 Research Their Iono instead of having Colress in the deck, too. But does have some toy catchers in the deck. Very interesting inclusion within the deck here to kind of pick stuff off, which is cool. So that's cool. Cool stuff, cool stuff. We got another Pidgeot here. This time, no Switch, but does have a Turo opting for that instead of the Switch. Another Moon in Day 2. No Water Energy in that build. Another Miraidon here. Just, another build here playing the Judge path. So no Peony in this build, but Miraidon still doing Miraidon things and still being a strong deck. There you go. We got another Zard Pidgeot deck here. No Switch in this build, looks like. Just play Avery, though. No Research either. Cool, cool. Another Lost Tina. Ooh, Tina with Arven. Let's go, let's go. We got Julius here with the Arven build. Arven's interesting because, it's got the double Cleansing Gloves. Obviously, Cleansing Gloves really good against Gardevoir. Really good against Mew Vmax. Pretty popular EU decks, right? I would definitely say so. Yeah, cool. I guess Arvin could be good too in the late game to find like Mirage Gates. Another Sablezard deck here to look at. Ooh, yo, it's got Delphox in the deck, so opting for Delphox V over Roaring Moon. But there is value in Delphox. Delphox does have that, rapid flow attack where you can do 120, 120. Really cool stuff. Yeah, it's not a bad attacker. I mean, it catches a lot of people off guard sometimes. Obviously, nobody really expects it. Yeah, Delphox, really cool inclusion here. Playing Crisis Punch too to help out. Playing a Cynthia's Ambitions, a very interesting card you don't usually see in Lost Zone decks. That's very interesting. Pretty good against Iono, I guess, if you draw it. More Guardy here. Playing an Avery, playing a Turo. Just one Avery, one Turo. Another Moon with no waters. Got another Pidgeot here with the one switch. We got, finally, I say finally, but we do have a Snorlax deck without the Pidgeot EX this time. Just a more normal Snorlax build with the Shiyu and stuff. But yeah, we'll see if, like, Snorlax without Pidgeot is, better, or Pidgeot is better. Because Pidgeot is a little bit harder to play than the normal Snorlax build, but the Pidgeot build arguably is better because it has more options against its worst matchup, specifically against Giratina, which we see here. Another Guardy with one Avery in here. Another Mew. Yep, more common build of Mew, 4TT. Another Guardy, look at that. One Avery, and then another Mew deck here. It is another Fusion Mew, much like what we saw Owen Cameron play. Not the same 60, I don't think, but it is still just the Fusion Mew with the Ice Cube and the Meloetta in the deck. Actually, also playing Roxanne over Iono. Cool stuff. Another Guardy, once again, playing Avery and the Turo. Another Moon, with Water Energy this time in this Moon build. Another Lostina with Avery and Iono, so a little bit more heavier on the supporter count there in that build. Another Shempao here. Shempao back Excalibur. Yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. I think everyone's kind of figured out an ideal, like, 60 for Shempao, right? So, kind of the same thing. Another Guardy here. Playing Luminion in the deck alongside the Turo, but no Avery in that build. And then we got another Charizard here. Pidgeot, once again, playing a Switch. Another Moon to look at here real quick. No Water Energy. Playing the Judge. Just kind of Ross Cawthon build. Another Fusion Mew. Or another Mew, not Fusion Mew. It's Mew. It's got a couple Fusion Energy. Double Turbo build. Another Sablezard. This one is a little bit different than the other Sablezard builds. It is not playing Moon, Moltres, or Delphox, but does have Mawile and Pidgeot V in the deck. So Mawile still being a win condition that you can try to achieve with the deck. And it also just kind of scares your opponent into not benching, their important cards for the matchups like the Manaphy and the Jirachi. Specifically the Jirachi, obviously. It's also got the Crisis Punch and the TM Devo within the deck there, too. So more focusing on the one prizers. Another Moon with Water Energy. All right, we got a Peony Miraidon here in day 2. So unfortunately, Peony Miraidon not being the most popular and best way to play Miraidon here in the tournament, but still very good. Got 18 energy, 4 Peony, no research, just opting for just straightforward 4 Peony in the deck. High roll, just go off. Probably got a really good Guardian matchup considering, you're just all in on the Peony. Another Lost Tina here with the one Avery. We got another Lost Box deck here. Looks like we got the Dragonite Lost Zone deck. Playing the Iron Hands in the deck. No Moon, no Kyogre. Just opting for a straightforward play with Dragonite and Iron Hands. EX also has a TM Devo in the deck to help a little bit more against the Charizard deck there. Another Flaffy Miraidon. Oh, it's a Peony Miraidon deck, kind of. Yeah, it's got 3 Peony. It still has Iono and Research and stuff, but still is playing at Peony at the end of the day. We got another Snorlax Pidgeot deck. Look at that. This deck, pretty popular. I mean, this is like, what, the 5th or 6th one we've seen now? Another Peony Miraidon deck here. This time does have the 4 Peony and the 2 Research in the deck. A couple catchers. Another good card to play within Miraidon. Another Lost Tina here, once again, with the Iono. Cool. Then we got another Moon, and we got a couple Arc Piles to look at here. In fact, there are 3 decks in a row that I'm very excited to look at. So let's take a look at the first Arc Pile. All right, we got the Regigigas deck. Looks like the Joe Turntime list. It's playing 3 Charon's Care, though. A little bit heavier on the Charon's Care this time around. Also playing a TM Devo in the deck to help a little bit more against Charizard, obviously. Also a 4/4 Arceus line is interesting. And it's playing Battle VIP Pass. The logic behind playing VIP in the deck is that it gives you a higher chance of getting multiple Pokemon down against Roaring Moon. The big thing Arc has to overcome currently in our right now format is Roaring Moon is really bad. You go attach Arceus Pass and they donk your Arceus with the Roaring Moon and the game's over. So the Battle VIP helps you a little bit more stabilize against Roaring Moon. We got an Arceus Superior in day 2. This one is playing at the Slacking. I think we've seen a similar list before. I forget what regionals it was. Was it San Antonio? Charlotte? I forget. But I do remember seeing Arc Superior Slacking. But cool stuff. Arc Piles. You love to see it. I mean, we'll have to see where Arc goes. Rotation Arc is looking pretty good, obviously. We'll have to see if any more Arc does well in Vancouver. Cool stuff. Superior Arceus Slacking. Smile on my face. But the big surprise, the one that I was hyped for, somebody made day 2 with Blastoise EX. Blastoise EX has a limitless page now. This puts a massive smile on my face. You just absolutely love to see it. Obviously, they didn't do as well in day 2 because, they're more near the bottom, but still just amazing to see this deck at day 2. Blastoise EX it's a card that has potential. Like, it does a lot of damage. I mean, Twin Cannons does 140, discard up to 2 basic energy from your hand to do 140 for each card discarded in this way. Obviously, really, really good because you can do 280 damage for 2 energy, which is great numbers against a lot of decks right now. You're very bulky with that ability and your health, effectively giving your thing 360 HP. It's good synergy with the Miraidon Palkia. It's awesome. It just sucks that Blastoise has never really been able to take off like it has. I mean, Miraidon's kind of on the downswing right now. It's not as popular. There wasn't that many Miraidon in day 2. Still amazing to see Blastoise in day 2 of the special event. That's awesome. I love it. It's a pretty nice build. Palkia, Bibarel. It's got the Vessels, really good cards. Superior Retrievals, Pokestop. Really cool stuff. I mean, I'm hoping we can see more Blastoise in the rotation, maybe. Another Lostina in day 2 with Avery, and a couple more Charizards we can quickly skim through here real quick. Looks like we got more Pidgeots. We got another Mew here in day 2, another fusion build of Mew. So no Selgor Mew in day 2, because that's something that I've been seeing a lot of people talk about recently. I was expecting to maybe see at least one Selgor Mew, but I guess not. There's only one Rapid Strike in day 2. Kind of crazy to see how far Rapid Strike has fallen. Everyone was really hyping the deck up over the course of this format, but I think ever since Roaring Moon just took off in popularity, Rapid Strike has fallen off a cliff. Not to mention Mew being really popular at EU, not really helping this deck's case either. Kind of crazy to see the deck just kind of fall off. 1 in day 2 is just wild. And then, of course, we had a Miraidon here in day 2. It looks like we got the Iono Judge Bath build, playing a Coco EX in the deck. That's something we haven't seen in a while. Also playing Cobalion and Zapdos, so kind of having the 2 damage modifier options. But there you go, folks. That is all 100 decks that made day 2 at the Utrecht special event. Obviously, the big takeaways, Mew winning the tournament, beating Moon in the finals. Snorlax Pidgeot being the most popular way to play Snorlax and the best way it looks like. And of course, Blastoise EX getting a day 2 and getting its own limitless page. Love to see it. Really cool stuff. Want to see how these results impact Vancouver. Obviously, we're going to be doing some Vancouver content when the tournament is getting close. Obviously, the predictions videos, the best decks, tier list, stuff like that will all be coming out very soon. But looking at the results, it is definitely interesting to see how the meta will evolve heading into Vancouver. That'll be for me on today's video here on looking at all these decks. Leave a link to a Limitless down below if you want to go check out the decks yourself, build any of them, whatever, test for yourself and all that good stuff. And I'll catch y'all later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.